My job is a systems design engineer specializing in airborne systems. I've worked in systems design for 2 years at a company called MBDA Missile Systems, based around the UK. In a simple sense, hence, systems design is about designing engineering products, in this case missiles. Systems design is about bringing together the various components and parts of a missile and getting them to work according to how they are designed to operate and work according to customer requirements and also specific objectives a missile must do, be it to destroy an enemy aircraft, ship, or even underground bunkers. I got the role after 2 years of applying, after graduating from university with a master's in engineering and a bachelor's in two honors. I got the role by applying online for a job advert for a different function, safety and reliability, which was unfortunately the only thing left available by the time I noticed it. I made it through the interview and assessment center very well, although I narrowly missed out to another candidate, but by giving my best performance and demonstrating the kind of person I am, they kept my name on the books and then offered me another role here in systems design. And when I had an online interview with that, which was during the pandemic, I demonstrated that I was capable and the kind of person they needed for it, and I was accepted onto the role. For the past 2 years, I've worked in 4 different departments, each for 6 months at a time, in different areas of systems design engineering here at MBDA. The first one I was put into was allocated for me, which was about learning how missile missions are planned. It's not like you see in movies where you see a missile fired at a target and it hits it. Missiles have to be able to recognize their targets, locate them, distinguish them between them from, non-enemy assets, and be able to achieve their destructive effect, but also while not causing harm to people around them, to innocent bystanders. That's what I had to learn, how missiles do that. My second placement was in integration. Like, how do you attach a missile to its carrier or launcher? Because you don't just simply mount a missile on a plane and then push the fire button. The systems have to be compatible with each other, sort of like smartphones are compatible with other data sharing devices. Or USB drives are compatible with different computers. That's the simple sense of things. That's what I had to do. Then I did my external placement in a subject which I found quite a lot more interesting, mechanical, which is basically modeling the forces that act on a missile. The bending stress has, like, say, when you bend a ruler and it bends, and you work out how those forces act on a missile, or the effects of gravity, the center of gravity, like on an airplane, and the center of gravity has to be balanced particularly, like how I balance this, try to balance the dictaphone here on the phone, because I've got the center of gravity perfectly positioned. That's how it's able to stay on this. But also, so you have to design products. You have to simulate how they're going to be built before you can actually build them. To do that, I was able to use 3D computer modeling software to actually produce scale 3D models of components that are going to be built on a missile. Another thing you have to remember is you have to select the right type of materials for a missile. You can't just simply select aluminium because it may be lightweight. It also has to withstand things like the elements, like the weather, ever, and not rust, which is something else I had to do. I had to keep track of what different materials are in contact with each other, because that can induce rust and corrosion as well. My final placement is in a function which is fairly new, and I was the first graduate to do it. New business. That's about looking at existing products and trying to think of new ways you could use them. Because as technology advances, like with smartphones, in the 5 years, say, this model will be out of date and obsolete. You've got to try and think of ways in order to, like smartphone companies have to stay ahead of the competition. Like, what can you do to the Apple iPhone to make it more competitive against others like Samsung and Google? Well, that's what the missile has to do. You have to think of new ways you can use it. Could you use it for, say, hey, like, not destroying a target, or how could it be used to protect other missiles? Things like that. That's what it involves. To get my role into my final job, which I've been selected for after completing the graduate program, is in Airborne Systems. It is like mounting missiles to aircraft, which is what I've described previously. What I studied to get into the role was, I took the long way around. Getting into engineering was merely just taking what I could get. I wanted to study science after school because my dream is to one day go into space like Tim Peake, and I thought science was the way forward, but nothing I could find was suitable for me, so I got interested in aerospace engineering and studied that up to the highest level I could at my local college. But I wanted to go further. I did, so I went to university, to the Open University, and studied engineering in a broader sense, expanding outside of aerospace and seeing how it applies to everyday lives, not just to aircraft, but to everyday engineering products like smartphones, even buildings, and even the simplest of office equipment. I graduated with a 2:2 honors degree, but to get into a graduate program, you have to have at least a 2:1 degree, and I still wanted to learn more and demonstrate my abilities, so I went on to do a master's with the Open University. Overall, it took 7 years and in credit transfer from Bedford College, but I got my master's degree, and then it was just a matter of carrying on applying, and over 2 years, here's 8 interviews, and countless applications and rejections, before I was finally selected by a company, MBDA. But it's also not just about what qualifications you earn, it's about, again, the kind of person you are. By studying a subject you find interesting, you demonstrate and find out the kind of person you truly are, what skills you have, and what you can offer to employers, which is one of the key things you have to remember. I've always enjoyed learning about new things in engineering, which is, again, something to be very, you need is flexibility and a keen interest to learn about different areas of engineering and science and mathematics. If you're always willing to learn something new, that can be a major advantage. It shows that you can adapt to the great world of change you do. I've enjoyed learning about things like missiles I'd only seen on movies, and I knew practically nothing about how they flew, or how they hit their targets, or some of the things I've just described to you, which, don't worry, is not classified. And I've learned about the kind of person I am, that engineering is not just about putting things together, it's about figuring out how to build them to the way they're supposed to be built to achieve their objectives, and how people want them to turn out. And also getting into engineering, I've been able to learn that I'm not the only one who has a unique condition. I have Asperger's syndrome, which means I find it a bit hard sometimes to understand what people say without the proper instructions. Sometimes I respond better to face-to-face instructions or written instructions, or someone explaining it to me. But I've demonstrated some good things around in my time I'm at MBDA. I was the first graduate to be accepted onto new business, and I've also helped to move the projects along I have, addressing a key issue in mission planning that had been previously misunderstood, and also suggested and implemented a new system for better data collection and integration. And in mechanical, I've even been able to demonstrate how quickly I was able to take on board learning using 3D software with only 3 days of professional training. So you're always going to be learning, even on the job. But the advice I would give to people in their current state age of development is find the subject you really find you're passionate or interested in, and realize as your ultimate dream or goal what you want to do. But remember, you are your own person, and you can't follow the path of others like Tim Peake have done. You have to do the path that is best for you. In the end, mainstream university wasn't the right thing for me, so I went through the self-teaching course through the Open University, and I have no regrets about it. But never be afraid to try and fail. Failure can and be disheartening, but you learn more from one failure than you would do from getting something done right 100 times. But always remember, there is always a way around any complications you may encounter, and you will always have the support of those around you. But remember, it's not just your academic skills, it's also your personal skills. You have to take notice of others around you and always be willing to offer support to them, same as I am offering my time to share my thoughts with everyone who will see this video. And also show that you're willing to put others before you and do extracurricular activities. You don't just bond better with people inside of work, you do it outside of work as well, and learn other skills by doing things like getting involved in hubs. I'm a member of a scuba club, and it's helped me to learn how to trust people in a very important new environment. And even doing things like taking part, doing baking can help you demonstrate new skills to be able to follow instructions and even share your time to bake for charity sales, which is what I've done a couple of times, and even volunteer your time is a good thing because it can make a very small difference. It can and can help inspire others as well. So my short video today, which I've taken the time to present and will hopefully inspire at least a few who will see it, which is something else I've learned along the way. This is the most important of all. You can't always control where life will carry you. It's like with the wind or the ocean. Sometimes wherever the wind or ocean currents carry you is where you're meant to be, and I feel I'm where I'm meant to be right now. And the choices you make will influence where the current takes you, but just remember, where you end up, where you let them take you by making the choice of what you want to do with your life, it will always take you to where you will best fulfill your potential. Thank you very much.